Welcome back to another episode of Lost Codex Legends. My name is Jesse, and today we're talking about one particular character who has crept around in the shadows for many years. One who's been part of the story, but not necessarily up front until recently. I'm of course talking about Matthias Shaw. Now today we're going to cover Shaw's story from the very earliest, potentially non-canon bits in the RPG, all the way up until his most recent heroic actions in Battle for Azeroth. He has been one of those characters who kind of went from a background named NPC to actually someone quite prominent in the storyline if you play Alliance. So we're gonna get all that information. We're gonna dive right into it right away. And we're not gonna delay. There's no cheesy intro. There's no rambles at the beginning. This is the ramble. Stop. Here we go. All right. Who is Matthias Shaw? Let's go. Little is known about Matthias Shaw's younger days, but according to the Warcraft RPG, which is only canon when Blizzard really wants it to be, Matthias was raised by his grandmother, Pathonia Shaw. The reason for this is his mother, who apparently was an assassin, was killed on a mission, and thus his grandmother raised him. But his grandmother is a complete badass in her own story, as according to the Warcraft RPG, she's the one who formed the Stormwind's Assassins Guild. She's the one who taught presumably her daughter, but also taught Matthias how to be a rogue, how to be an assassin. And although there's some discrepancy of the difference between the SI7 and the Stormwind's Assassins Guild, early lore suggests it's used interchangeably. Sean Copeland did say on Twitter, lead historian Sean Copeland said that they are unofficially separate organizations. So if we do take the Warcraft RPG as canon, Shaw's Nana totally is the founder of that, and that's amazing for a backstory. Nothing we'd know officially, since the whole point of that would be to keep that secret, but still, that's amazing. What we do know about Shaw's early childhood is that he was best friends with a certain young lad named Edwin Van Cleef. Him and Edwin, they'd go fishing down by the pond and throw rocks at cats, I guess. I don't know what kids in Stormwinds do. But eventually, as they got older, Shaw would train Edwin Van Cleef in the ways of the shadow and the ways of the rogue, and hope that one day he would fight alongside him. Spoiler, he doesn't. When we do meet Matthias Shaw in World of Warcraft, he is seen in the barracks as the leader of the SI7, the intelligence agency of Stormwind, and for most of the Alliance. And here he is wearing this amazing cloth set. Just good old Shaw, and his gear was hard to come by back in World of Warcraft, as we all know with Classic. His work is diverse as he coordinates reconnaissance with efforts regarding enemies such as the Horde, the Defias, the Scourge, everything like that. Shaw and his agents keep a keen eye on the Defias activity, mainly, presumably because Shaw knows Edwin Van Cleef, and he knows how dangerous he is. There's a letter that you bring written from Shaw, and it talks about Shaw growing up with Edwin, and says, if Van Cleef is leading the Defias Brotherhood, then this is far more dangerous than we realize. So Shaw knows Edwin personally, which would kind of make him maybe an uncle to Vanessa, especially if Shaw and Edwin saw each other as like best friends, brothers kind of. That's cool. We're not going to talk about that, but that's a cool thought. I never thought of that until now. Cool. As I mentioned, he operates from the Old Town Barracks, but as a side operation, he actually heads the Stormwind's Assassins Guild, which again, it's not canon, but it's not canon. Like, they're two separate organizations. It's not really mentioned. It's one of those vanilla things that is really mentioned several times, but then it's brought up never again. And so a lot of people are attached to vanilla lore, but it begs the question of how canon is it? Is it just a branch of the SI7? What is it? Either way, he's now the leader, as Nana has retired, but he's also head of the SI7, so take that as you will. Matthias has friends and acquaintances far and wide. He owes Barras Alexton, one of the architects in Stormwind, a favor, though we never learn why. And he knows most of the rogues in the Alliance and sends them to spy and assassinate and steal. If you're a rogue on the Alliance side, Matthias Shaw knows it, and chances are you work for him. Now, things are very quiet for Shaw for most of Vanilla, aside from him sending some agents to Westfall to keep an eye on the Defias, and his storyline is in Stormwind. Burning Crusade and Wrath of Lich King, we hear nothing from him, which means he's doing an amazing job as a rogue. Good job, Shaw. But then things start to act up when Deathwing arrives. In the Shattering novel, Shaw is the one to appoint Owen Graddock, who is a dwarf rogue who accompanies Varian and other SI-7 agents to storm Ironforge and assassinate Moira Bronzebeard when she's being a total asshat, and which obviously doesn't happen. When Varian doesn't show up for his Remembrance Day speech, in one of the short stories, Shaw is amongst the people, alongside Jaina and Marcus Jonathan, to go searching for him as head of the SI-7 when the king goes missing and doesn't show up for a speech. It's kind of his job to know about it, or he should have known it ahead of time. And so he goes looking for Varian during this time. During the Cataclysm, we obviously know that Shaw has been keeping an eye on Westfall, as he has sent Amber Kiernan again to watch that tower down in the south of Westfall, southeast of Westfall, I believe. And in Vanilla, it was filled with Defias, and in Cataclysm, it's filled with a bunch of ogres and that goblin who becomes a boss in the Dead Mines. Amber is there watching the trees with her sniper. And of course she's sent by Matthias Shaw. He also has sent some agents and scouts to Stone Talon Mountains as well. Shaw's Cataclysm spotlight doesn't really turn on until the Twilight's hammer starts to show up and, ruin everyone's day. Shaw helps Anduin root the Twilight cultists out of Stormwind, and when the time comes to go to the Twilight Highlands, Shaw is there. Shaw joins you, the player, in the attack on Twilight Highlands. In the Twilight Highlands, Shaw is overseeing everything. And this is important because this is the first time we've seen Shaw sort of step from behind the counter. Shaw, up until this point, has been the guy. He's been playing an RTS. He's been sending the troops everywhere. But now he's on the front lines. Now he's going to see, all right, even though he's a rogue, even though he's the head of the SI-7, he's now taking things into his own hands. Shaw joins the adventurer as we disturb some Twilight activity, but things don't go according to plan all the time. At the Twilight Citadel, the player is alone with Shaw. For Horde, it's Garona. And all of our reinforcements are dead, so it's just us. And this is where we see his fighting prowess. We start fighting Twilight assassins and cultists, and we stop several Ascension rituals. We free some Red Dragons, and we help the Red Dragon flight, and we stop the Twilight Dragon flight. Shaw really steps up. He's not just the quest giver who stands back. He fights in these quests, and it's a long way since his original Cataclysm storyline of, him as a rogue trainer and wearing his cloth armor. By the way, he's upgraded his armor at this point to some fancy Trial of the Crusader, Trial of the Colosseum, whatever you want to call it, from Wrath of Lich King. And fun note that I didn't even clue in, the name of this set is named after Van Cleef. So either Shaw has no chill, or he's wearing it as a token to his childhood friend who turned out to be a dick. Either way, Shaw is wearing some leather armor and kicking ass in Twilight's Highlands. He's also the one to organize a strike on Cho'Gall, the Altar of Twilight, and is present to lead the assault, even though this turns out to be a trap. You tried, Shaw. You tried. Now, after the Cataclysm, we don't really hear from Shaw in Mists or Warlords. There is that whole new cast of rogues and SI-7 agents who show up in Mists for the Jade Forest questline, and presumably he's the one who sent them, so he's probably back at the command table for both storylines. So he's just doing a really good job as a rogue by staying in the background. In the Legion expansion, Matthias Shaw becomes a very prominent character for the rogue player and their rogue questline. We learn that Matthias Shaw and the SI-7 learned of the Burning Legion's trap on the Broken Shore, but that news never reached the Alliance and Horde. Why? Well, the reason the Horde and Alliance never learn of this trap is that Deathrok, the Dreadlord, ambushes the SI-7 and captures Shaw. Amber Kiernan was a witness to this attack, and because of this, Deathrok had her killed. Rogue players find her body before she could warn the uncrowned organization. Now, with the Alliance and Horde decimated at the Broken Shore, the SI-7 ambushed, and Shaw in his control, Deathrok can truly do some damage within Stormwind. As his first act, he manipulated Stormwind forces to exclude the uncrowned from the city, focusing his attention on the uncrowned Shadow, the player, and Garona, though Garona has her own reasons for not being welcome in the city. He does all of this when the Nightwatch from Darkshire is revealed to be working for the Legion under the organization of the Veiled Hand, and are in the middle of attacking Stormwind. Naturally, Garona and the player infiltrate the city and kill the Night Watch leader Althea Ebonlock. We learn that she was merely a subject, and the true conductor of this entire plot was the captain of the guard, Malrys Malagan. We rush off to the keep to deal with this, just as Anduin is attacked, which Shah Detherock